Now, Americans are not happy with the country's directions, at least according to a new Quinnipiac University poll released today. Now, according to this poll, more than 7 in 10 Americans, or 71% of people, say that they are dissatisfied with the country's direction. Now, let's kind of break this down by the numbers. Now, 41% of people indicated that they are very dissatisfied, and just 2% said that they were very satisfied. So, look, that's kind of a disaster. You only pretty much have 28% that are on the satisfied, and the rest of people are very, very angry. Now, this sort of explains to me the rise of Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders, people who are very anti-establishment candidates. You normally go for the anti-establishment candidate when the establishment is doing everything wrong. So let's get into, as I said, into this poll a little bit deeper. Now, asked about the federal government, 27% responded that they were angry, compared with 49% who expressed dissatisfaction, but not anger. Enthusiasm for the federal government registered within the margin of error at 2%. Ooh, that's bad. When people ask you, are you enthusiastic about the government? Margin of error. And to us, like to right now, for us, we're like, yeah, of course. Nobody likes government. Everybody hates government. That's normal for us. But there was a time, believe it or not, there was actually a time where people were satisfied in the government. Like, oh, the government's doing a pretty good job. But obviously, it hasn't been that way for a very long time. Enthusiasm. 21% said that they were satisfied with the government, but not enthusiastic. Now, I think a couple examples of this would be the fact that the government's broken. There's a lot of gridlock in Congress. They can't seem to agree on pretty much anything. NSA, of course. And a big thing, here's one of the big things that I think, the tax system. We know that wealthy people are paying less in taxes than the middle class, than a majority of the middle class. Rich corporations, on average, are paying less than people in the middle class. And people know it. So yeah, that's kind of going to get you pissed off at the government. Hey, why are you allowing the government to rig rules in favor of corporations? I'm not in favor of that. I would actually be one of the people who are angry at the government. And what's funny is that, people watching, I'm a lib, I'm progressive. People are like, oh my God, you love government. You worship government, right? No, I don't. I believe government can solve problems if it's given some proper rules, and if it's governed properly by people who actually give a fuck about helping the nation. Now, this is the problem with our government, is that nobody seems to give a fuck anymore about fixing the problems. They only give a fuck about getting more money to their donors. That's the problem with the system. So I'm not at all surprised. So let's go to Congress. How do people feel about Congress? Oh, you're going to love this. Republicans in Congress drew just 12% job approval. 12%. Herpes is more popular than Congress. That's bad. And just like herpes, it's not as easy to get rid of your congressman. 81% of disapproval for the Congress, while 31% approve of the party as a whole. As I said, this is Republicans in Congress. 12%. So the Republicans in Congress are less popular than herpes. Now, 58% who do not, 58% of people do not approve of Republicans in Congress. Now, what about the other side? You gotta think the Democrats are better, right? Well, they are. Just 27% said that they approved of the job of Democrats in Congress are doing, compared to 66% who don't approve. And now, the party as a whole drew about 40% approval and 50% disapproval, which means both of our parties, people do not like both of our parties. Boo Democrats, boo Republicans. We hate you. Pox on both of your houses. You're doing a shitty job, and we do not like you. But despite that, here's the most interesting thing, and the weirdest thing for me that I've never been able to figure out, and I've reported on these types of polls before. Voters are divided on which party that they would prefer to control the houses of Congress. So, Republicans that are in Congress that get 12% approval, people still vote for them, even though the Democrats have more than, well, around double the approval rating for the job that they do. People still elect both Democrats and Republicans roughly evenly. Voters split 44% each on which party should have control of the Senate, while 46 to 44% said that they wanted Democrats over Republicans to control the House. Isn't that weird? Oh, that is so... So they're essentially evenly split on who should control the government, despite the fact that they hate both, but they hate the Republicans more. I will never understand this. I will never understand polls like this. I don't get it. You hate them both, but you obviously hate one side more than the other, that are doing a terrible, terrible, terrible job, but you're still going to be split on electing them to office. Like, I don't know, they're doing a horrible job. We're just going to keep voting them into office, and maybe they'll eventually do a better job. No, they're not going to do a better job. I think that's why a lot of people are like, term limits. Got to get term limits. As I said, it's a very, very strange poll, but very, very interesting to me. Now, something that's not really related, but was also asked in this poll, and I'm not sure why they asked, but the survey also asked their voters' opinions on issues like college tuition and abortion. Now, as I said, that's a really strange thing to go to after, are you dissatisfied with the government? Or are you satisfied with the government? Or whatever. Well, okay, well, let's get the results on that. A majority of 61 to 34% expressed support for major new spending by the federal government. Wait, I thought Americans didn't want us to spend anymore. Well, it turns out that they do on things that actually make sense. For example, college. People want help for college, paying for college tuition. That's why President Obama's college plan is actually popular. That's why Bernie Sanders' plan to make college free is popular. It turns out people actually want their government to do things, and maybe that explains the dissatisfaction because the government isn't doing anything, or at least they're not doing what we as Americans consider to be priorities. Now, abortion. This is interesting. 23% said it should be legal in all cases. So there's your pro-choice, right? I guess you could call it, it's extreme pro-choice, right? I don't really consider it extreme, but whatever. 33% said it should be legal in most cases. So that makes up about 56% of people asked. They are pro-choice. On the other side, 26% said it should be illegal in most cases, while 14% are absolutely fucking crazy by saying that it should be illegal no matter the circumstance. Oh, you get raped? Too bad. Have your rape baby. But that adds up to me 56% pro-choice, 40% anti-choice, although that 26%, I don't really know if you can really call them completely the part of the pro-life crowd, because they will allow exceptions for rape and incest. So that sort of has an element of pro-choice into it. Like, hey, you can choose to not have your rapist baby. Oh, how magnanimous of you. So as I said, that's pretty much how Americans feel at this point. We're pissed off. We know the government is not serving us. They're serving the multinational corporations. And we're letting you know that we're pissed off. That's why on the Republican side, people are going for Donald Trump. And on the liberal side, a lot of people are going for Bernie Sanders because they are the anti-establishment candidates. Now, they're both very different in their platforms, and that's why they appeal to the different parties. But nonetheless, they're both against normal establishment politics, and I think that's what most people are pissed off about, and then that's why they're getting drawn towards these other candidates.